Rob Thomas, editor-in-chief of Club and Resort Business, and welcome to the Club and Resort Talks podcast. Today's guest is Joe Smith. He's the general manager, COO of Countryside Golf and Country Club in Naples, Florida. He's going to talk all about this $14 million renovation of their clubhouse. Basically tore down the whole thing, minus the middle, expanded everything, and really went into it. And it was a 2-year process. And they basically they coined the whole process Camp Countryside, and Countryside 2.0 is the finished product. But he's going to tell you about how he got not only his members through the whole process, did a great job with videos, but also kept his staff engaged. So stick around because it's a terrific conversation. Joe's a great guy, and anytime I get a chance to sit down, and he's a recurring guest. So this is back-to-back weeks of recurring guests. Jason Becker was a recurring guest last week. So stick around for Joe. I love talking with Joe. But before we get to that, let me tell you a little bit about what's going on in the news. Northland Country Club in Duluth, Minnesota plans to add private members-only housing on 13 acres of its property. The project includes homes, duplexes, and lodging with city approval secured. It supports club growth while addressing local housing pressures. Apparently, Duluth is jam-packed right now, so any additional housing is a good thing. Let's head all the way out to California for some news. Sequoia Country Club in Oakland plans a major golf course renovation that includes removing 175 redwoods to improve sustainability, update irrigation, and reduce water use. The project also enhances playability, fire safety, and supports native wildlife with drought-tolerant landscaping and new tree plantings. As you can imagine, there are some people that are they're upset about the trees being removed, but many of them are stressed or already dead. It's a danger, it's a hazard out there, and they're going to replace those with a couple hundred native trees that are a little more drought tolerant. So it's a net positive for sure. Last but not least, all the way into New York. Nassau Country Club on Long Island is completing a 3-phase renovation highlighted by the expansion of its historic halfway house, Calamity Jane House. The project enhances course amenities while honoring golf history, further enriching the 130-year-old club's family-friendly, multi-generational appeal. The story goes, as far as the Calamity Jane is concerned, that the pro had a putter and let Bobby Jones use it. Fell in love with it. I think he made like 8 straight putts from a certain distance, and that ball or that putter went into his bag immediately, and he won his 13 Grand Slam or 13 major events with that putter, as well as I think the 1930 Grand Slam. So Calamity Jane has a deep history at Nassau Country Club. All this and much, much more on clubandresortbusiness.com. Now that we got all that out of the way, let's throw right to Joe Smith. Hello, welcome back to the podcast. I'm joined by Joe Smith, the general manager, COO of Countryside Golf and Countryside Golf and Country Club in Naples, Florida. Joe, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here, man. Appreciate it.
Well, Joe, you are now a recurring guest. Congratulations.
Yeah.
It's a very select club. We had you on like maybe the end of 2024 or 20 sometime. We've had you on.
I think it was about a year ago. Yeah.
Yeah, so fantastic. Thank you for coming back. We're going to talk about a brand new clubhouse that you guys just moved into. So before we get into all the details, give us a little 10,000 foot view of Countryside to remind everybody what's going on.
So we're in the heart of Naples, 7 miles from downtown, 7 miles from the beach. Community is about 40 years old. It was an original U.S. Homes development. They kind of had this pocket of communities down here in South Naples, and we fall into the bundled golf model. So the clubhouse is a real estate amenity bundled with the home. So we have 1,133 homes. 850 of those are golf members. The other 283 are social members. Which makes all 1,133 members of the clubhouse. So big membership, a lot of use. Like every other club down here, our members are very seasonal. Yeah, I mean, it was time for a massive upgrade here at the clubhouse. Over the years, we had the community had done some capital enhancements, minor stuff. Shortly before my arrival, they had finished the largest project at the time, which was a $6.5 million wellness center and tennis complex. And they did a small expansion of the clubhouse as part of that project. When I came in 2018, we launched a golf course renovation, so complete $5.5 million renovation of the golf course. And really shortly thereafter that time, we started planning and designing the clubhouse expansion and renovation, which we've aptly named Countryside 2.0. So we broke ground in, let's see, we moved out of the club in August of 23, broke ground in like October-ish, and then we moved in 3 weeks ago.
Well, so 3 weeks ago, that puts you in July, which in July down in South Florida is beastly hot. I'm sure everybody who is there is currently sweating, but a lot of people have not yet seen the clubhouse in person. What features or elements of the new clubhouse are you most excited for your members to experience?
Oh, I couldn't pick one, to be honest with you. I know that sounds cliche, but I mean, we essentially we retained like the middle half of the clubhouse. So our lobby, as you walk in the front doors, is really the same space. And then, kind of how I've explained it, we kind of tore off either side of the club, and you know, added a new indoor bar with vaulted ceilings. And then we added on the other side of the club an outdoor open air bar with a resort style pool. Um, Gosh, I honestly I don't think I could pick one area that I'm most excited for. I mean, the members from the minute they walk in the front door of the club, those who have seen it, they're just like their jaws are dropped, and it's genuine. I mean, on our opening day, we just kind of did a quote unquote soft opening. We opened for lunch, and we had like 300 people come through. A number of them flew down just to kind of see it, knowing that it wasn't a big blowout grand reopening party. And they were no joke, Rob. There were people in tears. I think they just had become accustomed to the way the club looked for so long. And, I think oftentimes, especially with a community of this age, being 40 years old and not having done any very extremely large capital projects, it's difficult for the members to envision what's possible. And that's just what I've continued to hear. Like, we never expected this being possible, once they put their eyes on it. And, we did a ton of video coverage through the whole project, and everyone keeps saying the videos were great, but it just doesn't do it justice.
I was going to say that was exactly what I was going to talk about. You guys did a fantastic job. I think every Monday morning we saw a new YouTube video come out, and you look
Yeah.
terrific in a hard hat. So construction could be your
I
second
never had to
career
worry about it
project.
messing up my hair.
What did member feedback and surveys, pulse checks shape the design and programming for the new clubhouse?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of follow the regular model in these communities. We started with, as you said, some surveys, and really just kind of like, if money was no object, what would you want, right? And we put a committee together to kind of help, guide us through the conceptual phase. So surveying, focus groups, worked with an architect to kind of narrow in a conceptual design. Then from there, we did a series of proof of concept meetings, and then, you know, sometime at the tail end of that whole process, which was probably about a year, 18 months, we started on the funding path and how we were going to pay for this. And, it wasn't without its turmoil. Projects of this magnitude bring forth all types of opinions. And I think the one thing that we kind of doubled down on my team and our committees, our member committees and our board was we're going to be just as transparent as you could possibly imagine with how we communicate from again the early stages all the way through the actual construction of the project. And it was an awful lot of work, but honestly, it's the first time in my career where I could say as a general manager, and I think a lot of other GMs will appreciate this. I feel like I have somewhat of some control of the rumor mill. Maybe not control is the right word, but I just have a sense of what's out there because we have put out so much information. So there's members correcting other members on incorrect information. So that was just such a key part was the communication and really following that path of survey, focus group, input, pulse check, go back to the drawing board, and then just take those next steps.
Well, you'd mentioned some of the past projects that you've overseen while you were there. What made this project, this renovation, massive renovation, different and more challenging?
Well, price tag,
Yeah.
$14 million, a lot of money. The first large project I did here, which was in 2019, was our golf course renovation. It was 5.5 million. Still an awful lot of money, but um, and then I think the biggest thing aside from the price tag was the anxiety around the disruption. It's one thing to any project you do is going to cause some disruption. You renovate the golf course, you're going to obviously you got to shut it down, but 90% of the time you're going to do that work down here anyways over the summer months when it's your quietest season and reciprocal season where you have the ability to send your members to other courses. Clubhouse renovation of this magnitude, you're disrupting your peak season. For us, it was 2 years. And that obviously made this project different from any other project we've done.
So I want to talk about Camp Countryside because you had penned a terrific column for us, and it's on our website, clubandresortbusiness.com. But before we get into that, so now that you've been through it, you're on the other side, the ups and the downs, and you may have looked like that duck floating on there, but those legs were paddling like crazy. What advice would you give other GMs preparing for a major clubhouse renovation like this?
Do your homework. One, I've gone through this before in previous roles. I spent 20 years with a developer down here, so I've gone through a number of renovations, but also a lot of new construction. So I have a general understanding of temporary operations and permitting and so forth. But I would say do your homework. Even on our early on in the process, I took my team. We went out. We visited other clubs that were going through renovations. We asked questions. What are you doing for temporary facilities? How are you serving members? So do your homework. Ask questions. And I think the biggest thing that we're all subject to is don't worry about looking stupid, for lack of better terms. A lot of times, especially in our position, as a general manager, you have this persona that you're like, well, I should know how to do this, or I don't want to ask the question. I don't want to look like I don't know what I'm doing. That's okay. That's how we learn, and you got to ask the questions. You gotta have some trial and error, and you got to fail at some things. It's just a matter of how you recover and how can you be honest with the process, really. Um, and then communicate. I can't stress that enough. We've always been big communicators. Communication for me is a big thing. And we went above and beyond with our communication through this project. And I think that is really one of the key foundations of the success we've had. And it's not just myself. I mean, my entire team was involved, but also getting the buy-in from your members. You saw Mike McDonald on a lot of our videos. Mike is a member who's a retired architect, retired project manager here at Countryside. He was like fresh out of the workforce. Been an owner here for 20 years. just retired, got involved in the project, ended up leading my construction committee as the chair. And Mike and I sat down, I was like, I need you on camera with me when we're giving these updates, because that's where you build the trust with your members when, quote unquote, one of their own is part of the process. So I think having someone like Mike, and as a general manager, you got to go out and find those people because again, this whole thing that we do day in and day out in the club business, it's a partnership. Um, I'm just borrowing this club from my members for the time I'm here. I hope I'm here a long time, but again, it's their club, so it's a partnership.
No, very well said. I usually ask our guests to get out their crystal ball at the end of the interview, but I'm going to ask you to get it out right now. How do you think this new clubhouse will help support future growth and long-term member satisfaction?
Well, it brings us current with the market here. So the one thing we have at Countryside that a lot of the newer clubs and newer communities don't have is location. So all of the new construction, new development is going east, meaning further away from the water. And we are, as I said, we're a 40-year-old community. So when this community was developed, there's nothing where we are now. So we've got that location, and now these amenities bring us current with what is desired in the marketplace right now. We have a lot of legacy members, meaning kids who grow up here with their parents, or come visit their grandparents or parents and, you know, inherit the home, or buy a home themselves. So our demographic is ever evolving. And the club itself provides, with what we've done, it provides the ability to deliver an experience that serves our long-term members, those who joined maybe 30 years ago, but also stay current with our younger members and provide what our future members are going to want. And a key aspect of that is what we've done with the kitchen. We so oftentimes clubs go through these renovations and put all the focus on, the front of house, right? What the members are going to experience in 5, 6, 10 years down the road, they have to go back and redo or further enlarge the kitchen. Our kitchen, 100%, the first time in my career I can say this, we're going to be able to grow, the club will grow into the kitchen, whereas it's oftentimes the other way around. We've got a 6,000 square foot kitchen that we developed as part of this project. Largest kitchen I've ever had, largest kitchen my chef's ever had, and it's going to be able to serve the club for decades. And you know as well as I do, the food and the social aspect is really the motor, right? That's what keeps things going. So, um, my crystal ball, as I stand here today, it's sunshine and rainbows. It's probably not the truth, but I'm really confident what we're going to be able to provide for many years to come.
Well, we all know the golf course and the swimming pool are the pretty, right? Everybody
Yeah,
loves looking at the golf course and this, but everybody eats. Not everybody golfs, not everybody swims,
right.
but everybody eats. I hope that your chef is going to continue putting out plenty for the one bites.
Oh yeah, yeah. Those are not those we started those as, something a little comedic and to have some fun, and now it's like we stopped doing them while we moved out of the temporary facility and into the club, and our members are like, "When's the next one? Are you starting them again?" So it's almost become like our running joke is like, other GMs will appreciate like when you transition to your off season and you've got to like reduce dinner services and people are like, when are you going to bring dinners back, or when are you going to reopen on Mondays? It's the same thing with our one bite reviews. It's almost become like an expectation, which is good because they're fun.
Well, let's keep them up. I love
Yeah.
them. So now we're talking about camp countryside. I had
Yeah.
obviously read the article, so I know what is on clubandresortbusiness.com. But if you could let us know how the term camp countryside came to be and how that and how quickly maybe your members and your staff kind of bought in.
So I will preface this. If I said that we planned all this out in the beginning, I would be completely lying. So we went into this, our temporary facilities like any other club. There was a level of anxiety with the staff and the members. What is this going to be like? What are we going to be able to deliver? What's the experience going to be like? And we didn't have the whole brand of Camp Countryside didn't exist when we were launching this 2 years ago. At some point, I don't remember where it was or who said it. Someone said it just make the most of it. It'll be like summer camp, or it'll be like camping. And it just evolved from there. And it's just an example of like having your awareness of something that might be a little corny, but maybe there's some validity to it, and can you run with it? And that's what we did. We built this brand within our brand for a 2 year period. And like we're here to provide experiences, right? That's what we do. So at some point early on, we were like, how can we make this experience of serving food out of a 28-foot trailer under a tent in essentially what looks like, a campsite or a trailer park or whatnot? How can we make this fun and make it an experience in its own rather than, the fallback with situations like this is, well, the experience is just temporary operations. That's what the experience is. And we have a limited menu and you have to sit outside, and we're going to get through it as quickly as we can. And it's just grit your teeth and deal with it. But when this term Camp Countryside came up, we were like, let's run with that and let's like brand the temporary facilities as camp. And that's what we did. We had t-shirts made with a logo we put the logo everywhere. It was on our videos. We referred to it as Camp Countryside, and members really bought in, and we had a blast. We really had a blast.
Well, it looks like it by some of the pictures that I've seen. Looking back now, what have been some of the most successful or unexpectedly successful experiences with Camp Countryside?
I think the biggest thing is all the stuff we did in the parking lot. Like, we had kind of brainstormed through, all right, can we bring in some food trucks? Well, we don't have enough seating. Well, what if we just tell members to bring beach chairs and like do it like a block party? In fact, at one point, I think that we were going to use the term like block parties. And then that evolved into parking lot parties. And, again, we were like, we're going to set up our entertainment in the parking lot. Like, what does that look like? But it was so successful towards the end, um, this past season. So we ended up being in temporary facilities for almost 2 years. And I had members coming up to me at the end of this past season, which was like April, May, and they were like, it's bittersweet. Like we're excited to get back into the clubhouse, but we're kind of bummed that Camp Countryside's going. Or they would ask, where are the parking lot parties going to be when we're in the club? And I'm like, well, we could still do them in the parking lot if you want, but we've got a $14 million clubhouse for stuff like that now. It was just this weird, like, emotional, like we really built this emotional connection with them. And I could see us going forward, like doing some throwback events out in the parking lot, just for fun.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I saw some Van Halen tribute band, I think the
Yeah.
Blues Brothers, all these themes, and it looked like the members were having a blast in the parking lot, and it's just a parking lot. But
Yeah.
the way you guys put it together is fantastic.
Well, and I think that the takeaway for us and anyone else listening, I think the takeaway is, um, it's really about what we do and the energy we create that makes things special. It's not like our clubhouse is gorgeous. Every club in the country has a clubhouse that is special in its own way. And then you hear clubs talk about, we spent 14 million, we spent 70 million, we spent 100 million. That's great, but at the end of the day, the sticks and bricks are just sticks and bricks, right? You can, if you've got the right people, the right energy, the right ideas, you can make a parking lot special. And that's what we did. And anyone can do that.
So your members obviously bought into the whole camp countryside, and you guys kept the morale up. Talking about your team, though, how did you keep your team's spirits up and saying, "Hey, this is, it's not easy to run food from a temporary, to an outdoor tent and blah blah blah." So the team had to really keep their spirits up. How do you guys do that?
We kind of just threw, I don't want to say we threw away all the rules, but we really the rule book went by the wayside. I mean, we really casualized the overall atmosphere. I mean, we let our servers wear shorts. Like our kitchen team, we got them cool t-shirts. Like the back of we kind of had fun with it. We got our kitchen team t-shirts, and on the back in big giant letters it said WTF. Which the idea there is like we're working in these facilities like WTF, but underneath it said where's the food. So we just tried to have fun with it with stuff like that. And I think the big thing is we might like our managers, myself included, we were all in there rolling our sleeves up, having fun with them. Everything was paper plates. So we tried to really simplify the style of service, the style of the event, but we were in there, right next to them for 2 years just helping out. And I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. There were times where we were like really like WTF, like this sucks. But you get through it, and people need to know that you're in there with them, you're in it together, and the payoff at the end, the clubhouse, is going to be well worth it. And again, getting back to the clubhouse from day one, we said, and our members fully support this. This facility is as much ours, our teams, our employees, as it is our members. So many of our key employees were involved in the employee areas. Our bartenders had some say in how the bars were set up and designed. Chef and his team designed the whole kitchen. Like members had the only input members had in the kitchen was they wanted a pizza oven. And so did chef. So perfect. Our HR director and membership director had full say of, the office space and our employee break room, all those areas. I let all of our managers pick out their own office furniture. Where normally you have a designer come in, and I was like, nope, here's the guidelines. I want white furniture or light woods. Otherwise, you design your own space. Here's a budget, make it your space. So we did things like that I think just really kept all the employees engaged and excited to get to the end goal, which is where we're at now.
Okay, well, let's not let the pizza oven comment go too far away because when I come down for a visit, I want to see the finished product of not only the pizza oven, but what comes out of that pizza oven.
100%, man. You've got an open invite. Open invite.
Beautiful. Thank you. I'll take you up on that. I'm going to get you out on this one. Instead of the crystal ball, I want you to think about what's next. And maybe if you could, not everything's been a straight line. I'm sure there's been some curves along the way. What would you change if you could do it all over again? If you have to do it all over again, or maybe not change anything? Hey, this went perfect.
Oh man, that's a tough one. I don't know that I would change. I don't know that I would change one thing. I think some of our early communication was a little maybe a little too direct. And this was long before we started any of the conceptuals. It was like, hey, this is on our plan and it's going to happen and it needs to happen. And I think we kind of early on, we rushed into too fast and it kind of stirred up some anxiety early on. Because again, you can't do a project like this without some sort of finance mechanism, so members know that there's an assessment in some form or fashion. So I think maybe softening our approach early on, and when I say early on, I'm saying like 3+ years ago. Um, but once we really got into the groove and the routine of um, or the flow of the project and the temporary facilities, I'm not sure I would go back and change anything really.
Wow.
Um, and it's probably the first time in my career I could say that.
That's a good answer because you certainly want to have everything as
Yeah,
smooth as possible. Joe Smith, thank you very much for joining us. I think I took up more of your time than I was supposed to.
always a pleasure.